everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome back to Let's Make a Mini, the series where I'll be taking some of our favourite characters from the world of TV, movies, comic books, video games, all that good stuff, and making them as D&D minifigures right here on Heroforge. Yes, indeed. Now, it has been a little while since I've done one of these. As you know, with recording, I say this in pretty much every video I do because they're so few and far between. I get in and out of funks of recording and not recording and stuff, but I really wanted to do this minifigure that I've got prepped for today, because as ever, Heroforge has spoiled us with the new stuff they've brought out. There's all sorts of new things that Heroforge have brought out. You know, I think last time I did one of these, we talked about how they've got all different kinds of items as side items now, like so many of them can now be used as side items, but there are now even more things we can do. Heroforge have introduced stuff like banners, like flags and stuff that can be held or put on the back, which is really cool. That's not what we're doing today, because what we're using today is one of the newest options, and we're going to go into mount so you can look at it straight away. We now have wheelchairs. This has been called out for quite a long time. Months and months ago, there was a big thing on Twitter where someone who likes playing D&D who was in a wheelchair created sort of sketches and drawings and mock-up of a wheelchair-based character. And this person got a lot of very unfair flack for this, but the overwhelming majority was super supportive. And since then, people who've been using Heroforge have been trying to make their own wheelchair characters, using all kinds of really innovative designs with hidden tails, hidden arms, shields for wheels, seated posing, all this kind of stuff. But Heroforge have now spoiled us, because now we can use wheelchairs as mounts. You have three different options, all sort of, there's a sort of modern day realistic one, and then these couple of fantasy style ones as well. Really cool stuff. I'm absolutely stoked that now we can have wheelchairs as items, mounts in Heroforge. It's a great addition. And with that, we're going to be making one of the most iconic wheelchair-based characters in all of media. It's Professor X from the X-Men series. The build of the body is going to be simple enough, but the main selling point here is going to be that new wheelchair mount that we can use in Heroforge. So without further ado, let's make a mini. So, starting off, we're going to go with our regular old human build. Again, not much we need to do on this as ever. We want to make him look serious, and of course the main thing we want to do here is remove the hair, because Professor X is bald. So we remove the hair, and that's pretty much all we really need to do on that. I know it's sort of very, very quick build on this, but most of the part is going to be the wheelchair and getting some posing with that right. So now we can move on to the fun stuff, the clothing, the colour, the gear, all that good stuff, and start building Professor X, as it were. So in terms of clothing, this is going to be very simplistic. There's, again, not a huge whole amount we need to do here. I'm going to move past the new tabard, which I think I might have spoken about last time. Basically what we want here is a suit. Because, you know, Professor X is well dressed. He wears a suit for the most part. In most media we see him in, he's wearing a suit. There is just one option, which is fine. If possible, I'd like to have had one with like a waistcoat in there, but it's fine. We're just going to go with the regular suit. The legs, once again, we're going to try and find those smart dress pants, which are around here somewhere. I always lose them the first time. There we go. It's the dress pants is the one we want with the seam down the front, I believe. Yeah, that'll do nicely. And in terms of the feet, we just want some smart shoes. Again, not a whole huge amount we need to do here. It's a very simple build in terms of clothing. That's basically it for the body. Now, we're going to come back to the wheelchair. We're just going to get the colouring done for now, and make sure that we can have everything coloured in, because I never like forgetting to colour in the pockets. I don't know quite why the pockets aren't part of the standard colour of the trousers, but, you know, that's all fine. So we're going to go into colour right about now. This is very simple. The colour I'm looking to do is kind of that kind of the classic dark navy blue suit that he wears, that you see him wearing with the red tie. So there we go. I'm not actually sure what colour eyes he has, but I don't think that's going to matter all that much. So now what we want is to get the suit done. We're going to go down to around here. This, I think, is the colour we're going to want. If we do all that, unfortunately I've rather missed out on the belt, but that's fine. Is that the colour I want? Or do I want to sort of like... No, I think I do want this one. We might darken this as we go. And actually what I want to do is colour in the leg part, because as you can see, there's the pockets. As you can see, this part of the leg will show through, and I really don't want that. So that is pretty much going to be all she wrote for that colouring. Now we want some leather. For the most part, we're going to be using black leather where we can. We're going to have to get in here and get the belt, which is fine. The shoes, we're going to make black leather. That's going to work quite nicely. Very simple, very easy. Black leather, lovely. And we'll colour in the laces that colour as well, no real reason not to. So it's a very simple kind of thing we're doing here. We don't need to do a whole lot. We're going to make the buttons on the jacket black, and we're going to make the belt buckle silver. I think that's fine. Now we'll finish off the rest of him. Obviously the red tie and the white shirt. And that's kind of him done. I'm going to go into the mix and just try and darken this this suit colour just a little bit. That is the kind of thing I'm looking for. Much better. Very nice indeed. Cool. So that is his bodywork done, but obviously this isn't Professor X as we know him. We want him in the wheelchair as we know him from the comics, the movies, all that good stuff. So, now we're going to go into, not pose, we're going to go into mount. And like I say, there's no kind of sci-fi wheelchair, but that's fine. We can make this work. So as you can see, the wheelchair is now here. And that is exactly what we're looking for. Now the cool thing is that there are still some options that we can do. You can mix up the wheels, so you can have like these fancy town wheelchair wheels on the modern one if you want. Of course, Professor X's wheelchair, he kind of moves around himself with the little handle, the little control joystick. So we don't actually want these handles, but what's very cool is we can actually remove them, which is exactly what we want. We want to get rid of those handles, and realistically we want to kind of replace them. Ideally, I'd like this to be a little bit taller, but thankfully we can do that. We can actually do that. I'm going to sort out the base first though. I'm just going to make it nice and flagstone. Nothing complicated here. It can be just quite simple, and that's fine. But what I do want to do is add a few things in. So if we go into gear, what we're going to do is go on to back items. Not back items actually, because, yeah, actually back items. Because on the back you can have all the cloaks and stuff, but what we want is back items. Because they're actually going to attach through the back of the wheelchair. So what we want here is to go on shields. Because slightly further down the list we have a very simple rectangular shield. I think it's a heater shield. It's this one. No, this one. The plain Riot Shield. And this is actually what we need. So, we get rid of that one. We'll actually put this one in. As you can see, that's clipped through the back of the wheelchair. And when we go on to pose, we're going to be able to go on advance and move this around. So you can see we're going to twist it the other way actually. And we're going to get to the point where it's just straight. I'm going to go up to this view just to make sure I've got that exactly right. It's not quite how I'd like it. I need it a little bit. There we go. I'm actually going to do this and try and do it manually, because you can get a little bit. That will do. So as you can see, what we've done here by adding that very plain shield is we've given him a bit more of a backrest, which is quite fun. Ideally I'd like to tilt it upwards, but we can't do that, but that's okay, that's fine. So now we're going to get to colouring in the rest of this. There's not, again, a huge amount we need. We're basically going to be using greys and blacks for this. Mostly metal. So we're going to be using these top two for the most part. Now pretty much all the accenting I'm going to want to be this black. So parts like this, these kind of areas, the wheel brackets, this stuff. Handles like there. These kind of bits. They're all going to be black. We want to do this section as well. Now we do want the wheel, the tyres to be black, but I want them to be a different black. I'm actually going to go into the cloth because I think that's going to look better. Yeah, lovely. And now the rest of it. We're going to make this silver colour. Obviously you've got the kind of the attaching brackets here. I'm actually going to make it a chrome because that's going to stand out more. So something like this is going to be much more metallic, and that's what we want. So, adding all this in, we've already got that section, that's fine. Making the wheels silver, making the back silver, and of course all these side panellings want to be this chrome silver too. The wheels actually we want to make the black again just because they're at the front. That section there. And as you can see, that's kind of more of a metallic wheelchair, which is what we want. A lot of these parts, like this part here, is assumedly more of a fabric, but by making it that kind of very obvious metallic silver, we've made it more of a metal material. So what else can we add to him to make him more Professor X-ish? Well, firstly, we're going to do the base. Very important, before I forget that. Where's our stone? Here's our stone. We could make it slate grey, we can make it marble. Or we can make it wood. It depends what we want here, because if I was going to use a stone base, it would be for like when he's in Cerebro. What I'd really like is to have him wearing Cerebro, but there's really nothing that we can really do to support that on Professor X, especially like, it would take a lot. You'd have to have some kind of headpiece. I can think of one that I might use, but it's not perfect. You'd have to have various tails as cabling and stuff. I'm not good enough at Heroforge to be able to make that work. So I'm actually going to make this a wood base. So what we're going to try and do here is make it look like he's in the mansion from X-Men. So if we go on here, we go on wood. Let's go back to colour and get a nice wood colour. So here we are. I mean, polished is going to be the way to go here. A nice polished oak maybe, or a polished beech. That looks nice. Let's go with that. Cool. So now we've got that, we'll add a few base items here and there later. What I want to do is get the pose much better. So, first things first, let's go into gear. Because you'll remember I said that he uses a joystick to control his wheelchair. We can do that. Somewhere around here, we can do that. So if we go into, it'll be in sci-fi, I imagine. There's a very specific item I'm looking for, which is going to help us get that. Around here somewhere, probably towards the bottom to go past all the guns and stuff. Where are you? There you are. This is what I'm looking for, a pestle. Because that's going to go in his hand and we can move that around. We're going to colour it first before I forget. So let's find, we'll go into the mix because we just want to use the black metal colouring for that. And now we're going to sort this out. So let's go into advanced. What I want is to get his arm more up here. We'll twist the shoulder in. Bend it up a bit more. Maybe a little more of a twist. We need to make the wrist look a bit better as well. It's possible that we're going to need to move the arm back. There's a lot of fine tuning going on here. And as I say, as with all of my builds like this, a lot of this is trial and error. So we're going to be doing a lot of this sort of tilting around the arm. This is probably going to be decent. We need to tilt it up, tilt the elbow down, and basically keep doing that until it's in a better position. Unfortunately, we're working off 2 axes, so it's a little difficult. But if we tilt it down, bend it in, move the elbow, move the wrist, difficult to get this 100%. I need to move it down really, so let's try it this way. No, we don't want to get the tilt going, we want to get the bend to here. Now we're getting somewhere, we're getting closer. We are getting closer, and if we twist it, there we go. That's looking much better, and now we can move on to the wrist again, and we can bend it to there, not twist, but tilt. And there, now, that's about as good as we're going to get. So what we've done there is we've given him the kind of joystick to control it with. What we need to do now is actually, if anything, a little more difficult. We now want to mess with his other pose. And what I want to do here is get that classic Professor X fingers to the temple pose where he's using his power. First thing we want to do is get a good wrist pose looking. This is probably going to be the best one. This kind of alternate main grip one. We can't get the perfect pose, but we can get. That's not bad actually. Let's look at the differences here. I think this one's going to be better. So now we need to do this. We need to not twist it too far. This is going to be much more difficult than it looks. Because as you can see, there's no way of just moving his arm from here, I don't know if you can see that here, just to like here, unfortunately, unless we can mess with the clavicle a bit more. We can't, which is really unfortunate. That is what we want to be doing, that twist. But as you can see, we're still quite far away from the head. So we're going to need to tilt it a little more, tilt it a little more, twist the shoulder. Can't do too much bending because it's going to make the arm look weird. It already looks really odd, and I don't like it. Let's lose that for now and try again. Unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do about this. If we want the pose, we're going to have to sacrifice some realism. What we actually want to be doing is tilting it from the clavicle. That's going to make it look less odd, but still it's problematic, this. It's difficult to do. We're going to have to really try quite hard. And we can sort of ever so slightly move the head to get it closer. That's going to help a little. So now let's try and mess with this a little more. We're getting close. Now I need to move the wrist. Difficult. And now that's the one we want, the tilt. Is he at his temple? Not quite. Let's bend it down a bit. There we go. Bend it just a little bit further up. And that is as close pretty much as we're going to get. So now he's got that pose. The last thing I want to do is just add a little bit of flavour. The scene I'm kind of basing this on in my mind, the one that always comes back to me, is the one at the end of, I think, the first X-Men movie, or maybe the third. It's the end of one of the X-Men movies where Professor X is played by Patrick Stewart. and he's teaching a kind of literature class. That's the image I have in my mind. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to base. We're not going to add too many items here. Normally I like to add as many as possible for flavour, but unfortunately because the wheelchair takes up most of the room, we don't have that much room. But we do have room enough for like one thing, and that one thing is going to be the stack of books. That's just going to go by the side. You try and add anything else, it's actually going to default to putting it under the wheelchair at the back, which is a bit too hidden for my liking. So I'm just going to really quickly colour these, the normal coloration for books. What we want is a light wood, like a maple for the pages, or maybe this driftwood. Doesn't really matter that much. Just going to see if the desert is any better. That's better, yeah, let's do that. Bit of desert bleach for the book pages, and then basically choose any leather colouring. Will be good for the binding. We'll have a little bit of red, some blue, and maybe a green. Lovely. And that is going to be Professor X pretty much done. So let's just make sure we get a zoom out of there. And here we have Professor X. So let's do a little bit of a wraparound and see what we're working with. So the main thing, of course, being the wheelchair. We've got his joystick control for it. A little bit of flavour with the books and the flooring. The tyre isn't perfect, but that's pretty much as close as we're going to get. Similarly with the coloration, it's just got to be as metallic as possible. Realistically, this should probably be a different colour, but I think it's fine because it's underneath. Zooming around, we get to the other side, which is all fine. And here we get to see his pose, which is quite nice, just with that sort of classic Professor X style. But yes, that's going to be it from this video. So thank you all very much for watching. Do hope that you've enjoyed. Excellent to see wheelchairs on Heroforge. You know, there's been a lot of talk about getting more representation for sort of disabled people, for example. So, of course, one of the previous introductions to Heroforge was the prosthetic arms. Personally, I'm hoping for prosthetic legs next. That would be fantastic. I've got some ideas for that, and also more representation is always a good thing, so the wheelchair edition is great. And if you want to be creating stuff like this, then I suggest going to Heroforge. First and foremost, of course, if there are any characters you want to see me make, put them down in the comment section below, or hit me up on Twitter. You can always catch me there. Both of my Twitter links will be in the description, along with, as I always say, and as I was alluding to just now, the link to Heroforge. It is my favourite site to use for creating minifigures. I use it way too much, to be honest. It's a great site, really user-friendly, the interface is fantastic, there's so many options. If this is your kind of thing and you want to be making minifigures of your own, this is the site I entirely recommend, so I highly suggest going and checking it out, link in the description, along with, as ever, the link to the series that inspired this one, Building Character, over on Tulok, the Barbarian's channel. Check that out as well. But I'm going to get out of here, I've rambled on far too long, so my final thank you to you all for watching, and I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.